Okay, so let's get started. We are at 12:38 on July 29th, 2026, 2,186 days. Let's see. Let's make sure. I just did it, but wow, there's so much going on that my mind is going 100 miles an hour. So let's see. Yeah. I just did it, but 2,186.
All right, guys, we're here.
Let me turn this down. Okay. So now I can see everybody. Thank you so much. Okay, thank you for coming on so late, so early in the morning, and I feel like I'm almost a little bit earlier today. I'm going to try to get on. I always try to get on around 10, but then everything starts happening. Because our sources are so good. Our sources are so good, um, and so they have been absolutely keeping us up to date. What's going on? So, because people are sick and tired of the media not covering this. Journalism is really just a cartel cover up, I believe. I mean, the journalism and the politicians, it's just like cartel cover up, isn't it? Um, otherwise, Senator Thune would pass without any problems. The Senate would pass the Save America Act, or even parts of it, where you are required to be an American citizen to vote. I mean, what's the big deal with that? What's the big deal? You need to be a citizen before you vote. That's every country does that, you know. That's not, and we are the melting pot of the world, and so it's not saying one person over another person can vote. It's just saying you need to be a citizen of the country to vote for who you want to lead that country, right? It's just, you can tell that Thune is a cartel protector. And I'm sure that the law enforcement are working through that because cartels are now designated as terroristic organizations that have a lot of legal implications there. And, is he aiding and abetting the the cartels, the terroristic organizations by protecting their manipulation and infiltration and controlling of our elections. That's really been the big topic with our sources. So thank you, Laura, for coming on. Thank you, Anicia, for coming on. Thank you so much for your prayers and your love. So that's the really big topic, but we want to get back to the start of our topic, which is I'm the mother of Richard Halliday, the Fort Bliss whistleblower soldier who is a whistleblower, and he was forcibly removed from his barracks room there on Fort Bliss, taken downstairs to the basement room in building 2479. And his life was taken from him. And I know I say this, it seems for new people, matter of fact, but I've been saying it for thousands of days, thousands of days. Um, and, just getting that word out, getting that word out. And every day it doesn't get easier, but I have to tell it that he was stolen off of Fort Bliss, that his remains were, and desecrated, and our report is dismembered, and that there was organ harvesting involved, and that he was trafficked over to um, Juarez, right? Juarez, exact location in Chihuahua, Juarez, Chihuahua, Mexico, where the Plenitude crematorium was raided and over 400 bodies were recovered. And this leads us to our main topic today, that the funeral homes were not to serve families, were not to serve, God and the dead, because, that's what funeral homes do. They really serve God because, human bodies are made in the image of God, and they are to give a dignified burial, right? A dignified death, care for these bodies. Otherwise, why do we even have funeral homes? If if the human body was not important, um, then why don't we just, dig a hole and put the body in there? Why do we even have funerals? Um, you know, Funerals are there to serve God, and that's why they're very religious places. And because every human body is made in the image of God, and they are supposed to be cleaned up and put on beautiful clothes, and put in a dignified coffin, dignified burial, dignified headstone, or now this modern thing is cremation, which I I hate it. I just absolutely hate it, and I hate it more now because there's so much fraud involved in it, so much fraud. Oh my gosh. And families, they've overpriced so much of this dignified death, that families have to make deals and say, okay, well, I'll sell off some of the parts of my loved one, to get a free cremation. This is what we're finding out. It is, let's just say the Texas Funeral Home Commission is, is really fraudulent, okay? Absolutely, not doing their job. And so, that looks very badly on the government there in Texas, doesn't it? And why? You ask, why? Why would they do this? Well, funeral homes, from evidence that we have been looking at, have become really the money laundering fronts to this fuel theft, this watchical fiscal, the fuel theft that has been going on for a long time, across that border. It is all about stealing billions and billions from the Pemex, the Mexican national uh, uh, hydrocarbon. You can say hydrocarbon. I've been getting an education about this fuel theft, and it is absolutely what the cartel have grabbed onto, and it funds them and their armies and their very violent actions and their trafficking, the criminal trafficking of all kinds. And the fronts, and you see, because we know that Arleano Caron is cartel, we know, or we can say a transnational terrorist organization, right? And he's involved in funeral and oil and gas. Now we know that Group of Purchase is involved in both fuel and funerals. And then we have um, uh, the funeral homes of the whole Group of Purchase, the ones that are on the side of Mexico that were connected to Plenitude Crematoria. They, these are more every day, and I should post it up for you. Every day, the owners are being confirmed to be cartel. Okay. So, and the cartel are the ones, CJNG, Juarez cartel, Sinaloa cartel. It doesn't matter which one of those terroristic organizations, they are involved in fuel theft. Especially the one that the US now is really focused on is CJNG with this fuel theft. So, but they're all involved in the fuel theft, and really more and more evidence is coming out, confirming and really pointing the way that the cartel have not only got into the business of fuel theft, but made funeral homes their fronts for money laundering, the proceeds of the fuel theft. And so that's been, with the those that came after our son, that came after us, there was a common denominator: Mormon mafia and involved in funeral homes and mortuary operations. And I can tell you from personal knowledge and experience that these people are vile, vulgar, and violent. Okay? Vile, vulgar, and violent, and are part of the cartel network. And also, because they engage in sex cult activity. Okay? And that's not me saying that just like out of the air. It is from the experience of what they wrote, how they intimidated us, how they harassed us, what they did with the access to files that they had, which was enormous. Okay. So they absolutely had access into our intelligence databases, our law enforcement databases, our military databases. They had access, and the way they used them and what they did in their own personal families, that they did online and in um, affidavits, right? Sworn affidavits and everything. These are sex cultists, okay? And they, many of them, especially the women, are self-proclaimed witches. So, and that sounds so off the wall, but I have to just tell you the truth. This is what they are. And so this new raid on the community funeral home, right? Um, and the way the media is covering it, not covering that unique Michael Green has many aliases that confirm and a record, a criminal record that confirm that this person that's posing as a woman is really a man, okay, is a man, and also deceiving that she is some wife of one of her clients so she could steal $2.2 million of his. And I hate to even say she, it's a he, it's a he, it's a he, it's a he. He is a male. He has something that women don't have, okay? And which makes him a man. Okay, it is what distinguishes a man between uh, 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 than a woman, right? I mean, he's just a man. He has the equipment of a man, and this confusion that is given to us, um, is just such a diversion. The point that I want to make with the whole thing is that the connections that this funeral home had with the Home Depot bucket full of human organs also had connections to the fuel theft. So, this is another operation You can say, oh, they're giving to universities like Texas Tech University. They're selling to these human organs, or they're selling that on the black market or whatever. Um, but I'm saying, all that's a possibility, and the investigators, I'm sure, are looking into all of that, because all of these individuals that are part of this, it, are into organ harvesting and are very connected to the universities in Texas. Alejandro de la Vega just gave Baylor, which, my alma mater is Mary Hardin Baylor, and it makes me sick that Baylor University accepted millions of dollars from Alejandro de la Vega Foster, knowing um, well, I don't know. I don't know if they knew, but now they do. Now they do that. What evidence and what online is really, putting out, her name keeps coming up. And, it seems like there's a really good chance that she is a CJNG operative, y'all. Not, I've been calling her an El Paso cartel operative, but and that very well, and 100% the evidence shows she is an El Paso cartel operative. And people have been saying, "Oh, well, I didn't know that El Paso cartel even existed." I said, "Well, it's because we coined that, because she is engaged in cartel criminal activity." And I, you know, uh, just would say online that it's the El Paso cartel operative, Alejandro de la Vega Foster, who is a double agent and a fuel thief. Um, but more and more evidence comes in, um, there is a huge possibility that the label CJNG operative, cartel operative, fits her, right? Fits her very well. And so, and because of uh, the businesses, the shell businesses, because of the oil business, because of the connection with the funeral businesses, because of the connection with Jeffrey Epstein and William Sanders and Beto O'Rourke, which I just posted. The very close connections to them. Okay. And her targeting women. Okay, there is no other way to say it. You cannot be in her position with her pools. Okay, she has a lot of pull, and for sexual assaults to be so high, for so many women to be missing in Chihuahua, because she works both sides of the border, right? So we have sexual assaults on military bases in Texas, sky high. We have missing women in Chihuahua, sky high. We have 500,000 children that were trafficked through that border, through Chihuahua, through that border into Fort Bliss. That is sky high, right? Sky high. And the witness testimonies of them being sexually assaulted. Okay. And now we have the government, the US government, coming out saying that, the 146 that they found were being sexually assaulted like 70 times a day. Was it like that? So, no, 6 to 7 times a day, or it was an incredible amount. I just, you know, I got to go back and look at my notes, and but it was just an incredible amount. It was just so, everything is confirms this sex cult activity. Everything confirms this fuel theft. Everything confirms the CJNG cartel is involved in all of this, because it's not just me, it's absolutely confirmed by institutions. And when the institutions come out and say it, you know that i- things have to be pretty bad because they try to cover up, right, as much as they can. Um, so CJNG is absolutely involved in this. We know for a fact that Alejandra de la Vega Foster hosted the leaders of the CJNG cartel in her home, okay? We know that. And she refused to tell the public when asked who she had over there because it was for politics. Um, so and I'm trying to stay very focused here and not go off on a tangent that I want to go on because I want to really um, uh, drive home these truths that the funeral home industry in Texas is connected with the fuel theft that's going on. The funeral home industry on both sides of the border, okay, is connected to the fuel theft and to the cartel activity. And that is horrible because all of us, um, you know, don't want to have to rely on going to the cartel in order to bury our family members, right? The people that we love the most. We do not want to depend on going to the cartel and paying the cartel and being manipulated by the cartel, targeted by the cartel, because this unique Michael Green targeted the black community there in Houston. Okay, it was the black community there in Houston that was targeted by this demon, by this demon, and of course, uh, the deception, the trans deception, the fuel theft connection, the cartel connection. This is not a random raid on a funeral home. It wasn't even licensed. You know, Michael Green wasn't even licensed. Unique Green wasn't even licensed. And I know that sounds schizophrenic, but um, there's so many aliases. There's so much deception in all of it, but what they cannot, what are they hiding, right? If they're going to try to go to those extremes for deception, they're hiding their connection with the fuel theft because the fuel theft is a pretty narrow, very narrow when it comes to the cartels and those that have uh, the double agent status, the transnational status, which are only a few, right? Like Salvador Purchase, like Alejandro de la Vega Foster. There's only a few that have that ability to pull off major infrastructure, major institution manipulation to traffic billions of barrels of fuel, billions of fuel across the border, across Mexico, and still the amount from Pemex with bribing law enforcement there in Mexico. That's why President Trump even said it was a narco state. But what was really being done to Mexico to fund the narco trafficking business was this fuel theft, which was so much more hurtful because we all need fuel. We don't all need narcotics, right? We don't all need narcotics, but we all need fuel and we all need funeral services, okay? And and so we're not all, not all of us are criminal trafficker customers, right? Uh, you know, but this is where it really is forcing us to be part of their world that we don't want to be part of. I can say no to all the trafficking, all to all the things they do with children, the sex cult activity, all of that. I can say, get behind me, Satan. But we all need fuel and we all need funeral services. And this is where, um, yeah, finding out that Alejandro de la Vega has a big share in Domino's Pizza. It makes me like, oh, I got to figure out who I can order pizza from because I don't want to give her a cent. I don't want to give anyone like her a cent, right? So they take our freedom away, right? They take our freedom away, our happiness away. And, this is why there needs to be accountability because we need to be sure that when we use a funeral service, that our loved one is treated with dignity. Um, when we pay for cremation, we need to know for sure that our loved one is being cremated, right? We need to know for sure that when we go up to a gas tank to pay for gas, that's not stolen fuel, right? We need to know for sure um, that we can order pizza and it comes from a legitimate person and not some kind of money laundering business front, right? So this is why it's the accountability. For our family, it's all about Richard, right? All about Richard, accountability, and to repatriate his remains. But why is our case important to everybody out there so that you will share, that you will, um, follow this Facebook page and share all of our information. Well, because it hits home, right? It hits home to when you want to buy pizza, when you want to buy gas, when you want to, if someone in your family passes away, you want to, you need to make sure that that funeral home is on the up and up. So this affects all of us, and to get accountability means to follow us, to share, to share, to share. Also, it's so important to call your senator if you're an American citizen and you can vote and you have a say so. You need to absolutely let them know that you demand that they pass the Save America Act because the tampering with our, like, I think Alejandra gave almost $700,000 to, uh, to political candidates. Um, I mean, huge amounts of money. So, and perks on top of that. We know that for a fact. So, they have a lot of influence, not just with the election, but then what happens with all the policies and the running of our country. And it favors their criminal business, which is aiding and abetting a terroristic organization. So that's why the Save America Act is so important. It is a national sovereignty and a national security issue. Huge. It's an emergency. It's an emergency. So it really, you need to make your voice heard somehow with the Senate to absolutely pressure the Senate to pass the Save America Act because it makes all the difference. It really does. Okay, so let's see. I want to answer all your questions. You're on, Mama Bear. Thank you so much. Please talk about Veronica Escobar, whom she represents the people in El Paso. Well, she's a witch, right? She's a witch, and um, we know a lot about her. She is not getting a free pass from us, okay? She is not. But she's a done deal, okay? The people in El Paso hate her. And I can say that because I've been reading through the posts. They absolutely hate her. She is, her treachery is well known, absolutely well known. And I'll post even more stuff. But there's a lot of people posting about her treachery. And so I'm very glad for the help. I'm very, very glad for all those people's help. So it's very well known, and she is not getting a free pass from us, y'all. So I just want to make that very, very clear. What's not as well known is the treachery of Connell Wetton and his Mormon mafia ties, right? And his access and how he has been there for so long, and people don't even know who he is, and how he has absolutely opened the door to this fuel theft and the criminal trafficking. So, he is like Alejandro de la Vega's guard, guard dog, you know? So yeah, that is why Connell Wetton's name needs to be absolutely shared, and all of our posts need to be shared because that name doesn't get out there, right? And then Alejandra de la Vega Foster, she has a lot of money and control over the media, and so she gets all these puff pieces, and they call her a philanthropist, and she's an absolute cartel criminal, right? She absolutely aids and abets the terroristic organizations. And now the evidence um, really, it seems like it, that we're just about there to call her a CJNG operative because she is known to be very associated with the leaders of the CJNG. She hosts them. We know that for a fact. And all of her operations are absolutely cartel. So, that's why that is very important to get out. And why her? Well, because she was working both sides of the border in the government. And, so that's very important to share that information. Just like Maru Campos and her ties, and they're tied to the funeral home fraud. Right? Maru Campos is totally with her mother, allowing them to not get inspected or have licenses or permits. It sounds That's why they are connected to this community funeral home right there in Houston. And Houston is where this huge the fuel fraud is connected to, the exact same area where this funeral home with the Home Depot buckets of human organs and 48 um, you know, cremated bodies. But are they cremated bodies? I want that cremation dust tested. Is that animal dust? Is that cement dust? I want to know, and I'm waiting for the investigation because this is, the deception even within the media. The media is so deceptive, and it really confirms and corroborates what we've been saying, how the media has been so deceptive when it comes to our son, right? Totally deceptive when it comes to our son. And so this is really, really dangerous because those stories in the media, they're used in court. They are the narrative, and they are false narratives. The one with Unique Green, Michael Green, is very deceptive, and everything about Alejandro de la Vega Foster in the media is totally deceptive. The same thing with Salvador Purchase, totally deceptive. And he's on the funeral home commission, which is, good for us. Good for us because now the commission as being exposed for what it is, a cartel protector, right? A cartel, fuel, fuel trafficking, with all the other trafficking. Um, so that needs to be exposed, and so that's what we're really focused on because our son's body was trafficked to Mexico, and many people would write me and say, but how can that be? How could he be killed on Fort Bliss and stolen and trafficked off of Fort Bliss all the way to Mexico across the border? And now we know because the cartel was using the funeral mortuary operations for trafficking. And we know that Tavita Nusa was involved in that, the CID agent involved and prime suspect in taking our son's life. And his brother was what? Solomon Nusa, the major, the officer for mortuary operations for the U.S. military. So that is. You know, eh, there's just so much evidence for it. And the collection, the fraud, the Social Security, we know that his Social Security was used after his death. We know his financial information was taken. We know um, um, that his credit cards were taken and used after his death. You know, so absolutely the cover up and everything, all the evidence surrounding it confirms this that this is what he was whistleblowing about. And the dates and everything also confirm, and I said it last night for the first time, I believe, that there is a huge possibility that Richard was giving a warning that the Walmart mass shooting was being planned and orchestrated before it even happened, and that he reported that that could possibly be coming because the people surrounding him were the ones that were involved in the Walmart mass shooting case. Okay. So, and the same, those that hurt Richard. So, just really big developments when it comes to Richard's case. Very clear that the Watchable funeral theft and all the trafficking is connected to the funeral home frauds and operations, and the funeral home companies, right? The organizations and their contracts. I mean, I think Unique Michael Green got a $716,000 contract by from Harris County in Texas, and a year later they canceled it because they found out that they were moving bodies with U-Haul trucks. Where did those bodies go? Why wasn't that reported, and why did they allow that operation to continue? This because it had to have big connections like Marathon Oil, petroleum. I don't know. I don't know. I'll let the investigators, but it has to be something big for the government to protect such sacrilege, such demonic crime, okay, that was going on there at that community funeral home, like at Plenitude Crematorium. And it has to be, like these big operations that they profit from because they get campaign contributions, right, from this illicit money laundered money. So, yeah, that's huge, isn't it? So let me read on more. Just now there are women and men looking for their daughters, girlfriends. Yeah. Absolutely. And Alejandra de la Vega Foster, with her appointment in Texas, um, when you read the paperwork, she targeted female soldiers. Okay. I just want to make that very clear that the paperwork makes very clear that she targeted female soldiers. And yeah, yeah, I'll let you figure out, especially like, oh, oops, I'm a female soldier and I've been sexually assaulted and I'm pregnant now, you know. Oh, go see the La Diabla, right? Um, yeah. Will passing the Save America Act arrest Lalani Hart? Well, she confessed to they could go and arrest her right now. They have enough. They have enough to go and they have more than enough. They have triple to go around her to arrest her. Um so yeah, because she has immigration fraud. I don't think the Save America Act is really the instrument to use to arrest her. I think the her affidavit and her confession and um, is way more than enough and more important and more accurate than the Save America Act. So yeah, she definitely needs to be arrested. And she has aliases too. Her name has been changed. And Marlene Gonzalez, the judge there, the very corrupt, and I would even say cartel tied judge, is the one that changed her name for her, which you cannot do that when she is a prime suspect. You can't do that. That's very criminal. Um, yeah, thank you for putting that in Spanish. So thank you everyone for coming on so late, and we just love you for staying with us for so long and all the support that you've given. And you're my angels. You're my angels that I look at every night, right? Every night. And so thank you so much. And please share and follow again, and then some more. And also, um, other things are happening. Um, I'll let you know tomorrow. There's a campaign going on that I'll let you know tomorrow about. But really moving forward and rallying everybody to get accountability on this, and also that really helps our very vicious negotiations for the repatriation of our sons' remains to us. So thank you so much. God bless you, and I will be back tomorrow.